to Kevin Schulz. Welcome to the Permastoked podcast, bro. How's it going, dude?
Good, Derik. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, I'm amazing. It is awesome to have you here talking to you from San Clementine, California, right?
Yes, sir. It's bright and sunny San Clemente. It's been sunny for the last 20 days, it feels like. Haven't seen a cloud.
Wow. As I'm looking out the window at a blizzard.
I'm actually pretty jealous, man. I haven't really been able to get to my yearly strike mission to Canada, and I kind of crave the snow, and surfing in the snow is like one of my favorite things, and it's been a bit heartbreaking to not be able to get up there.
Nice. So I was hoping to get to this a little later, but you're bringing Canada up right off the get-go. So Kevin, you have been one of the most requested guests that I've had for this show. And, I relocated I'd been living out west for the past 12 years. So I started surfing on the Great Lakes, then I was out on the West Coast. Now I'm back. And it seems like you are very popular amongst the Great Lakes surfing crowd in Toronto. Lots of people asking for you. So why does Canada love Kevin Schulz?
Dude, Canada, I've kind of had like this, oh gosh, maybe 10-year relationship with Canada and the people and all my friends that are there. It started back, 10 years ago. I met a guy, Scotty Sharon, who was from Nova Scotia, and he was interning at Surfing Magazine. And he was just such a cool dude. We were working on some photos for the Grom issue they had coming out, like the NSSA issue that they were putting out. And he was like, Kev, you got to come up and visit me at home sometime. Come check out, like, would love to show you around where I live. And kept showing me these photos of these point breaks and like left point breaks that I was just drooling over as a goofy footer. So I took him up on that offer when I was probably 16 or 17. Oh, wow. And that was my first trip to Canada. I went to Nova Scotia. I met Scotty there, and then Logan Landry as well. And those guys were just awesome. They were so hospitable, and they showed me their spots and took me surfing and let me sleep in their house, and like just kind of gave me this really amazing experience, and then throw like the best waves I've ever seen in my life on top of it.
Really?
I fell in love immediately. And realistically, the first time I went to Canada, I'd only explored a very small amount of the territory that they surf. So I kind of had this weird draw to just go and visit, and the cold didn't bother me, man. I don't mind wearing a wetsuit, and just, so I think all these different factors kind of kept me coming back to Canada, and the people were a big part. So fast forward a little bit, visited the West Coast, went to Tofino. I met that whole crew, Pete DeVries, Noah Cohen, Nate Laverty, all those guys, like, and same kind of experience. I felt like I was just brought into their community. And then 2 years later or 3 years later, I found myself in Toronto and found myself surfing on the Great Lakes, which was always like I feel like this is so cliche to say, but it felt like a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm hearing a lot.
Right. But after experiencing the Great Lakes, it was like, gosh, the wave quality was actually so solid, and it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And same thing, dude. The community, the people, like Larry and Anthony and Lucas and all those guys, they were just so inviting, and it was such a warm welcome. And gosh, I had such a good time. So that's like my brief history that I've had with Canada.
Wow. So Canada loves you, but it sounds like, dude, you love Canada right back, man.
I absolutely do. I've had nothing but good experiences, and like the lakes was really special. I was pleasantly surprised, and it was so fun, and like just the stoke on the lakes was so cool. I'd never experienced anything like it, man. It was insane.
So what was it? I haven't seen any video footage of that. Is there any video footage of your Great Lakes time or?
There, it's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
So I went with a friend, Mike Bromley, and they're working on putting a piece out right now. And I can assure you, it is going to be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been talking to those guys a little bit, and I think realistically it's coming out in the next, don't quote me on this, but I think within the next 6 months or
Okay.
less. Um, those guys have been working hard on it, and it's going to kind of I think it's pretty inclusive of a lot of Canada. So
Okay.
there's going to be some different things, and the lakes is a big highlight of that. And
Oh, so this is going to show East Coast, West Coast, and the lakes?
supposedly, yes. I
Nice.
don't know too many details, but I believe it is. And those
Canada
guys have been working
excursion.
hard, and I've seen some of their past work, and it's really good. So I can't wait for it to kind of come out and like
Wow.
reinvigorate the stoke of lake surfing.
Yeah. So you're a surfer. You spend most of your time on the coast, but dude, you're looking like an Albertan cowboy right now.
I know you like that cowboy hat.
I love that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's become my everyday hat. I feel more one with this hat than most of my other ones.
Amazing. So I saw your face when you were describing the way people treat you in Canada, it's like you lit up. So, I mean, how does that compare to regular surfing in California? I mean, does it have a dark side, or what is it that was so attractive about Canada?
You know, I've been so fortunate to meet good people everywhere I
Hmm.
go and everywhere I've traveled. And like I guess anywhere you go, there's always some form of like localism vibe.
Hmm.
Um, and as a traveling surfer, you never want to cross any boundaries or step on anybody's toes or disrespect the atmosphere that they call their home. And just comparatively, like traveling to the lakes, I felt like we were brought in to the local community so quick. You know, we didn't have to like beat around the bush or walk on eggshells per se. It was just kind of, hey, I'm Kevin, nice to meet you, and they were just the lake surfing community was so quick to bring us in.
Hmm.
And not that that's different in California. I like I said, I've encountered some amazing people everywhere I go, so I don't want to talk negatively about anywhere, but like I feel like I just encounter more of that localism vibe
Okay.
in California, some places like a little more protective over certain spots. And I'm sure that's prevalent on the lakes, but I didn't really experience it, so I
Yeah.
can't attest to it per se.
Right on, right on. So
But
even someone of your stature, in the big leagues, um, you still get some resistance sometimes when you go to spots out there.
yeah, I guess I mean some it's so funny. Some people see stickers on boards or that's the thing when I'm traveling. I usually have somebody who's filming or shooting photography,
Mm.
and you just want to be mindful of your surroundings. And I try so hard not to encroach on anybody's territory and kind of be mindful of those no fly zones per se.
Okay.
Like there's certain spots that we just try not to film or post the backdrop of
Mm.
or post on social media. And I've gotten some flack for it. I think most surfers who have a social media account that they're trying to make a living off of have probably encountered something similar.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory, man. And realistically, I just want to kind of portray that stoke and it's going to happen anywhere you go, but as long as I can be mostly a good influence, then I'm stoked
Right
and
on.
stoke out the local community. That's huge for me.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny you said that. I've noticed that too. My, social media following is still in its infancy, but it's just a little over 1,000. But I've had some guys here from town, they would not let me know their spots because they fear what I could do with that information, having, a public persona, right? So I get that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're not
It's
out here to make it rough for anybody. We're just here to celebrate it, right? So
absolutely. And there's still a way to do that. It's like, I guess, just like you said, if we're just mindful and we're not posting the exact geographic location of said spot. And it takes a lot of work to get to know like what makes certain spots tick, and especially on the lakes.
yeah.
It's so important. You got to know your wind direction and how much wind there's going to be, when it's going to hit. And like that was something I was looking into a lot before I traveled to the lakes, was just looking at kind of the bathymetry and everything, and seeing how wind would affect certain spots. Because I was talking to some of the guys, like Lake Superior actually gets groundswell,
Mhm.
and Huron and Erie were a little less, or they're more shallow, so they kind of are traditionally shorter period intervals because they're smaller lakes. And that was really cool to me. It was kind of like learning a whole new way of forecasting with wind, and not looking at like long range swell charts.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you don't know how much it warms my heart to hear you talking like this. I started surfing on Lake Erie in about 1999. And when I went away, I left for a while and was on the ocean. And the scene here basically blew up, especially around Toronto. I mean, on the US side, there'd been more happening for a while, but on the Canada side, it wasn't what it is now. So coming back, it just blows my mind to see the excitement, to hear like from a pro like yourself, even um, to have that on your bucket list. Meanwhile, 20 years ago, it was a joke to a lot of people. It was just a joke. So to see how the pendulum has swung, to see that turn, it's incredible. And I think we have a long road ahead of us surfing in Canada. It's still very young, but we got those Great Lakes, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen with all that.
Absolutely, man. And I've noticed that there's a younger generation of surfers coming up there too. It feels like. I mean, I've been keeping in contact with one of the Groms that reached out to me. He lives in Grand Haven, Michigan. His name is Jameson Walter.
Okay.
And it was really cool to see, because that was one of the things I noticed too when I was traveling to Canada. There weren't a ton of really young surfers, whereas somewhere like where I live in San Clementine, like I'm paddling out and there's 20, 30 kids out in the morning that are under the age of 10. And that I've kind of noticed that there's been a younger and younger generation or crop of surfers kind of jumping in the water on the Great Lakes. And that's big too for that progression. Like, I don't know if you've seen that at all. Has that become more prevalent?
That's really interesting to hear you say that. The age range of Great Lake surfers. You're right. I hadn't thought of it, but now that I think about it, you're right. It is typically, more young adults or middle-aged people. I feel like Great Lake surfing is sort of this thing you find that just livens up your spirit, but it's almost like you were old or mature enough to know that you were searching for something and that's what you found. So I think that's maybe why people come to it a little bit later. You kind of living in this landlocked environment, don't fully know who you are yet, and then you discover surfing, and that's why you see people, Great Lake surfers, are so stoked, because it's all encompassing. I mean, you go on our Facebook groups, it just consumes the lives of Great Lake surfers. Not to say it doesn't on the ocean, but I think it's just this different level of stoke, because our waves are fewer and far between, and we're grateful, because in all honesty, we didn't really expect there to be waves. So the fact that there are waves, we're just grateful for it.
Totally. And almost having that mindset of, hey, it's freezing cold, like 90% of the time that we're surfing on the Great Lakes, the wind's onshore, it's freezing. Like there's ice chunks, it's
Yeah.
snowing. It's associated with weather.
Yeah.
And having the mindset of going and being okay with being freezing cold and having like a wind beaten face and icicles hanging off your hood is kind of, it just reminds you that you're still surfing and you're really lucky to be in that spot. And
For sure.
I find myself trying to bring that stoke out to waves at home too, because like I get so caught up sometimes, like, oh gosh, the waves are 1-2 foot here, and I'm not surfing. Like it's small. But then I kind of remind myself of the trip I went on to the Great Lakes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be really excited to be going out and catching waves, because I like people would pay money to surf what I have in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
So just kind of incorporating that stuff was important to me, and that was a big lesson I learned out there too. Is to just be appreciative of the waves that kind of come and surf them when they're there.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to that age thing, I think part of that is in California. I mean, you guys could get involved in a surfing summer camp, for example, or you could get a hold of your friend's board and go try it out without your parents knowing. In Canada or on the Great Lakes, I mean, it's a bigger endeavor than that, right? Like you need to usually get a wetsuit, and there's more effort to pursue the sport. And I think that acts as a bit of a barrier to people being exposed to surfing. So we're working on that.
Dude, that's cool. I'm
stoked.
really looking forward to seeing that younger generation. And
Yeah.
I don't know, has there been like do you know of a surfer who grew up surfing on the lakes that's kind of gone and pursued the QS at all? Like, or jumped in any events? Gosh, there's a lot of good surfers that live on the Great Lakes. Like, a guy named Burton Rips, and then like I mentioned, Jameson. He's kind of that younger generation. But do you know of any surfers who have like gone after or tried to pursue the QS?
No, I don't. I mean, I know guys who have been in competitions and things. What is it? The ESA, the East Coast Surfing Association, that is connected to ISA, but I don't think they're getting into the WSL or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that would be cool though. I think that's coming. I think that's something we will see.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. And like I said, when I went there and kind of experienced that wave quality, if you're willing and committed to go find the waves, you could surf pretty often out there.
Yeah.
Like realistically, I mean, depending on how committed you want to go, you could probably go so far as to say surfing 200 days a year, would you say?
If you're traveling, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're locked on one break, most likely not. No.
Gotcha.
Since Canada loves you so much and you love Canada, I've even seen you referred to as sort of like an honorary Canadian. With all that being said, dude, I wanted to test your Canadian knowledge.
Oh boy.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
I have prepared 10 questions. And now if you don't get it right, hey, at least you got this knowledge under your hat for going forward.
Okay.
Impress all your new Canadian friends. So
all right,
man. What Canadian city is referred to as Hollywood North?
Hollywood North. I got a guess on this one.
Yep.
Toronto.
No, pretty good guess. There is a lot of filming that happens there, but the majority of filming happens in Vancouver.
Okay.
A lot of movies, film production, TV shows are filmed there, especially all the like the CW superhero shows and stuff like that.
That's right. That's right.
Cheaper to
Strike
work
one.
up there and good weather. All right, question number 2. How many points are on a maple leaf?
5.
Think this through. Think of the maple leaf on the flag.
3. 4. Jeez. I don't know.
11. You gotta
How many?
You gotta get a Canadian flag up in your 11.
Oh,
So think of the the bottom. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, 11.
Oh man, I'm gonna get so roasted for this.
Wow. Okay. So far you're 0 to 2 here. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3. Along with hockey, what is Canada's other national sport? And I will say these are not the easiest Canadian trivia questions, but they're not the hardest either. I picked sort of more intermediate for you.
Oh, baseball.
No.
Oh God.
Baseball
Strike
is
three.
Baseball is like the most American sport I could think of.
I know, but the Blue Jays, man.
Yeah. So basketball has some. I think basketball was invented by a Canadian, but I believe they were in the U.S. But that's not the answer.
I do know that hockey was invented in Nova Scotia.
There you go. I didn't even know that.
If that counts for anything.
Hey, that's something.
Well, I did go to a Raptors game too.
Nice.
When I was in Toronto.
Right on. So I'll give you half a point for that one. So it is lacrosse.
It's lacrosse.
Lacrosse, yeah.
Wow.
Which is originally a First Nations sport. So that's where that would have come from.
Okay. Gosh, dude, I'm blowing it. 3 strikes.
Okay, I got a good feeling about this next one.
Okay.
What is the world's tallest freestanding structure? You know this. It's in Canada.
The world's tallest freestanding structure?
Yep.
Dude, now I'm just nervous.
Wow. Okay, let me give you more hints. It's in Toronto.
Oh, it's the needle. The
Space Needle? That's in Seattle.
I could see it when I stayed in my hotel in Toronto.
The CN Tower.
Thank you. Yes. But you can go up it like it's a space needle.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. I have a picture of it on my phone.
Okay.
That kind of counts as a half a point.
Yeah, now I'm looking at the other questions and I'm thinking
I'm gonna get them wrong.
But
let's keep going. Come on, I'll try.
It's good. It's educational anyway. Okay, Canada comes from what Iroquois word? So the First Nation or tribe that the word Canada came from, what was that word?
I don't know.
So it's Kanata. Kanata. I'm not sure if I pronounced that necessarily correctly. Kanata, which I believe means
I'm getting my honorary Canadian citizenship revoked after this.
Yeah. Which I believe means the village or something. You'll get it back, man. Your surfing will redeem you. That's all you need. Okay. I'm not sure if you'll know this one either now, but we'll try it. Name just one trailer park boy.
Bubbles.
There you go. Okay, boom, you got one. If I would have asked you to name all 3, would you have known?
It's Ricky, Bubbles, and I don't know the other one.
Julian. It's
Julian. Thank you.
Julian. All right.
That show's filmed in Nova Scotia. I know that. It's filmed filmed right up the street from a buddy's house.
Yeah, in Dartmouth. Yeah. Not too far. So the US head of state is Joe Biden. Who is Canada's head of state?
Trudeau? Or did I miss the election?
It's a bit of a trick question. So you're correct in the fact that
because you guys just elected a new premier, right?
Um,
Or
I'm
I'm
not
just digging
sure
myself
who
into
had, no, it's
people
okay.
right here.
So it's a bit of a trick question because the question is not who is the Canadian Prime Minister. If it was who is the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, you would have been correct. It's a little bit of a sneaky question because the head of the state in the US is Joe Biden. He's also your president. But in Canada, our head of state, the person who actually holds all the power but doesn't often execute it, is actually Queen Elizabeth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
I would never have gotten that.
yeah. So that's some good education though, I think too.
Dude, I came to learn on this podcast.
Yeah. So in Canada, the way our politics works is, you guys have the president, and I think the buck kind of stops there. In Canada, we have the prime minister, but then we also have what's called the governor general, who is sort of the spokesperson for the queen, kind of relays the messages. And I don't know, some people think that it's passe, the monarchy should be gone, but it is still technically part of our political system.
Gotcha.
Oh,
That's cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, dude, this one is going to blow your mind, I think. The 2020 population of the USA was 331 million people. The 2020 population of Canada, true or false? So if it's 331 million in the US, true or false, Canada's population in 2020 was 200 million. True or false?
False.
You are correct.
False. I believe the population of California is 42 million, I think. And I know that the population of California is greater than the population of the entirety of Canada.
Wow. Okay. That's some insider knowledge there. That's good. That's real good. So the population of Canada is 38 million. So you're right.
Gotcha.
There are 4 million more people in California. That just blows my mind how scarce it is in Canada. Like, you go to the city, you think you see a lot of people, but honestly, like, it's nothing compared to the States. It sounds like you guys would be living on top of each other. There's so many of you.
Dude, it's definitely, judging by our lineups lately, it's definitely more crowded here.
Wow.
But that's the cool thing about when I travel to like Halifax or Toronto, even, I felt like we were in the city and could be out of the city in kind of no man's land within 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Whereas here, you got to drive a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours to really kind of be out of people territory. It's definitely more busy here.
Yeah. Usually when you go somewhere, I find in Ontario or in Canada, when you're in a town or a city, like you said, when you leave, you have to drive through some country until you get to the next town or city. Whereas, like you're saying, in the US, and I think especially in California, you can be like in one city and then sort of like step into another. Like, there's not a clear division all the time.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Southern California, it's you kind of, once you get past above LA, you get into a bit more farmland territory. But down Southern California, it's like LA, and then you just drop into the subdivisions of LA, and then you kind of get into Orange County, which is got its own cities. And then there's a little split between San Diego and Orange County, just with our military base, Camp Pendleton.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of our little break. But it's still a 10-minute drive to get through that, It's definitely more on top of each other.
Wow.
And as of the last few months or year, I suppose, however long this COVID thing has been going on, I actually feel like it's gotten more crowded because more people are, which isn't, I'm not bummed on it, man. I'm stoked people are getting in the water and it's good. Like, I'm happy to see people getting out and exercising, but our lineups have definitely gotten more crowded. in the last
Yeah.
year. Everybody's kind of like have some free time and learning new sports, and surfing's one of them.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah. And less travel, more people staying at home. So,
totally.
all right, man, you're almost through this. We're on
Yeah, let's keep
question
going. I'm
number.
psyched on these actually.
Yeah, we got two more questions left. Canada is the blank largest country in the world.
Blank largest?
Yeah, so how big is in the ranking of countries? Is it the largest, the second, the third, the fourth largest?
Going off of like square mile or square kilometers, basically.
Yeah,
Actual land.
yeah. I mean, you don't even have to break it down that far. Just think about when you're looking at a globe or a world map.
It'd be the first or the second, right?
Which one is your final answer?
Just trying to think if Russia's bigger or not.
I'm going to give it to you because you're on the right track. It is the second. Russia is larger.
Okay.
That
Gotcha.
was good, man. You're in the ballpark.
In the ballpark. I
Yeah.
was like picturing them in my mind next to each other. And Russia just feels like it's got more northern territory on it
Yeah.
geographically.
I think it's much wider as well.
Other half a point. I think I've got 3. Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
do the last question and then we'll tally you up. Last question. Name one hockey team that Tim Horton played on.
Did he play for the Maple Leafs?
There you go.
Epic. I love Tim Hortons, man. I love Tim Hortons.
Okay, so what's your go-to at Tim Hortons?
My Tim Hortons go-to is 2 sour cream glazed donuts.
Wow. Good call.
Yeah. And a large double. And I'll get some form of like breakfast sandwich or wrap usually.
Mm.
But dude, like first thing I do pulling into the airport anywhere in Canada is like large double from Tim Hortons. Can't stop, won't stop. There's nowhere like even Dunkin' Donuts in the States. You can't like, I don't really like Dunkin' Donuts that much. And I feel like that would be the comparison, but Tim Hortons just is so much better, dude. It's so much better.
Yeah. Would you say Tim Hortons is sort of in between a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks? It's not as ritzy and fancy as a Starbucks, but I wouldn't say it's as low pro as Dunkin' Donuts either.
Yeah, I think the service is better at Tim Hortons for sure.
Oh, okay.
Just in my personal experience, I guess. I'm sure there's Dunkin' Donuts out there with great service. No offense, Dunkin' Donuts, but Tim Hortons, like, I just feel like you kind of go in there and you get that Canadian hospitality.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
And the first time I went to Nova Scotia, I had Scotty Sharon take me to a Tim Hortons before we went surfing. And it's a weekday and it's kind of busy. Everybody rush hour going to work. And so everybody's like cycling through this Tim Hortons. Like they're moving at a pace I cannot believe. And the guy tallies me up, whatever. Here's my grand total is like $12 or something. I must have bought the whole place because I spent $12. But anyways, this guy puts out the card thing, and this is right when Canada first got or was using the chip, and America was still on the swipe program for credit cards.
Yeah.
So I put my credit card in, and it shorts out the whole system. Computers crash, like they could not reboot. And meanwhile, the line behind me is just getting exponentially longer.
Oh man.
And there's just angry Canadians behind me. And Scotty Sharon turns around and goes like, sorry, this is my American friend. Dude, I was so embarrassed because I just fully shut down this Tim Hortons, and like people in the drive-through line were like stopped up, and just because I tried to put my chip into the credit card reader and it didn't work.
Wow.
And we finally resolved the issue like 10 minutes later, but 10 minutes spent in a Tim Hortons is a pretty long time, I feel like.
Wow. Major malfunction. I'm surprised
Mhm.
they just didn't give it to you for free.
Oh, I know. I felt bad, but I get they had to get they had to get their computer system back up and running.
Wow. You lived through a Tim Hortons revolt, man. Like one of the only times Canadians get angry. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I was proud that we got through it successfully. But are there Tim Hortons in the States? I think there might be a couple in like New York, right?
Yeah, I can't speak to the entire US. I don't know, but I do know there are some in Michigan. I saw some when I was in Detroit.
Rad,
Yeah, it's
dude.
very close to the Canadian border. So I don't know. I imagine maybe it's the same at other sort of border cities, but I don't know.
I I feel like we need one down here. We need to introduce the American people or a majority of the American people to Tim Hortons.
I do know that in the plate, you're right, there may be one in New York because I have heard of these Tim Hortons in the States are these sort of places where Canadians will gather, which is kind of cool. It's sort of like having the Canadian embassy as a
Tim
coffee
Hortons is
shop.
the
Yeah,
Tim. Just go to any Tim Hortons here and be at a Canadian embassy.
yeah. You can start using very frequently and relaxed.
Dude, yes, that's so good. I watch a bit of hockey, and that's like my favorite sport to watch on TV. And they always got the Tim Hortons sponsors on the side, like
Oh
on
yeah.
oh gosh, it makes me miss Canada. I haven't been back in a year, and I know that's realistically not that long, but I feel like I'm making
Wow.
2 or 3 trips a year to either Tofino or Halifax or now the Great Lakes too.
Yeah, wow. COVID is hindering your Tim Hortons coffee intake, man.
No, how
Wow.
dare it? How
What a
dare COVID?
Yeah, seriously. All right, dude, let's get into some surfing, man.
Let's do it.
So, yeah, so you are, one of the big things you're known for obviously is you're the you're the airman. You're like the new Michael Jordan, but the Michael Jordan of surfing. And it seems to me like Stab High, Freak of the Peak was what really, it was a big sort of coming out party for you, right?
It was. It was cool that the guys at Stab kind of I don't feel like they took a chance on me, but I felt like I finally proved to them that I could be in those events and hang with them and with the best in the world airwise, and kind of got the invite. And I was just, dude, it was such an honor to be invited to that event. And so I really just wanted to go and show that I could hang with the best of them. And I'd had that freak peak flip in mind for a long time, coming before I even was invited to the event. And it it was so cool how it worked out. Like, it was the warm up day, and I'd asked for that freak peak wave, and the first one they sent me kind of misfired. So it was kind of a dud. And they're like, go back out, do it again. And I tried it, and I guess I got it. It would have been second try, but it was like the first one. Um, and as soon as I landed that thing, it just felt like I was so pumped,
Wow.
and everybody was there on the like pool side looking in, and all my idols that I look up to were kind of sitting there. I was like, wow, that was such a
Wow.
cool moment. And then to follow it up and get second in the event the next day was really cool. So it kind of proved to those guys that I could hang with the best and compete with the best in the world at airs,
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
and that was such a cool experience. And I'm so excited to kind of see more of those events come about. And we just did the same event in Indonesia back in November, which was so rad. Like, so these events, you're able to do them in pools, you're able to do them in the ocean, and that's been really cool. So I definitely have used the air shows as kind of my professional platform, I feel like.
I love that air show. Sounds like you're flying a jet. So, you know, the flip that you did, so it was a backflip, correct?
Correct.
Now, when I watched that video, I watched it several times. Obviously, it's incredible. But as a guy who, you know, doesn't do any flips, it's sort of like any flip I see looks incredible. So what is it about that particular wave or the backflip? What tell us, to us guys who are stuck on the ground, what made it so spectacular?
Well, I guess it the big thing about that flip was the wave that it was done on, which so the engineers at Perfect Swell American Wave Machines designed this freak peak wave, and it basically was a mutant wave, and it was almost a challenge to the surf world as like who can do the craziest flip or air, whatever you want to call it, off of this man-made mutant.
Oh, okay.
And so the wave itself that I did it on was not a user-friendly wave by any means. It wasn't.
Okay.
It was almost like this weird challenge where it's like, if somebody lands something off this, it's going to be like break the internet or it's going to go viral or whatever. And a couple guys, I believe Pat Schmidt and Shane Borland, were guys who did pretty off of that wave, that free peak. And so when the Stab High guys put the free peak challenge up as like it was a prize or a subdivision of the Stab High event, I had that flip in mind that I was working on, and in the ocean I couldn't do it, and I knew that was the wave I could do it on. Okay. So, and the flip differs from other back flips in the grab. So instead of just grabbing like your rail straight in front of you, I was reaching across my board and behind me, and then pulling over my shoulder a little differently than your traditional backflip. So it was still a backflip, just with a corrupt grab. Was the difference. So that was like, it was so cool, and that speaks to the technology of the wave pool too, just to give the platform to surfers who are working on something in the ocean where they might only have one or two sections that are perfect for that maneuver in the ocean, like putting it on repeat in the pool.
Yeah.
But just the way it kind of transpired for me that I was able to do it first try in the pool, it was like, oh my gosh. So that was the story behind the flip. And
so it would be hard to find this mutant wave. It would be difficult to find one like that in the ocean to even practice on it.
Totally. Like I was surfing waves like the Wedge in Newport Beach. There's a couple waves up north, one of them Point Magoo, it's on an Air Force base. And
how fitting.
Those waves, like they have that similar tendency to almost over wedge and mutate on themselves.
Okay.
So they're getting like this, like they're just angry looking, not user friendly waves, but that was the kind of wave I needed to do this trick on, basically. And the pool was so cool. Like I knew right away that was what I was going to do it on. So, that was like the flip, and then the rest of the event was cool too. And just to kind of be able to surf and do that in front of the guys that I looked up to. Like I was surfing against my heroes, I felt like, which was cool to put something down like that in front of those guys. I was like, oh, what a cool experience.
Yeah, that's like you graduated. Like you went from, grade school and you went right into high school. It's like you skipped grade 8 or something, right? That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of was the local pro in San Clementine to being more on a bit of an international scale. and that, yeah, I guess that was like my coming to Jesus moment in the professional surfing aspect.
Nice, right on. Um, so, on the subject of airs, um, how does one get good at being in the air? How does one get comfortable and even, feeling those stillness in the moments to even think to, like you said, twist this way and grab that? I mean, time goes so fast when you're flying in the air. So how do you perfect those maneuvers?
That, gosh, you waste a lot of waves for sure. Like
Mm,
when I was younger and I was trying airs, it's just repetitive over and over and over, and you're blowing sections and you're getting frustrated. But like anything, you just got to keep at it, and kind of, you got to want it, obviously. But for me, I felt comfortable in the air. I just felt like that was what I was good at. Um, and body awareness would be a big part of it, I suppose.
mm,
So just being mindful of where your body's at when you're surfing, and when you're reaching for your board, like knowing your hand placement and where your legs are going and your arms are going, and just kind of having body control. Um, I always tell people who ask me about airs to just kind of work on being comfortable with having your body in the air, and just being mindful of where your limbs are at, you
mm.
know, um, which takes time. I guess I had, when I was younger, like a knack for being in the air. Like I think I even did gymnastics when I was younger for
Okay.
like a year or two.
Right on.
Um, just when I was like a super grom, I was frothing on like doing trampoline stuff, and
Yeah.
that actually is a cool way to train for surfing in that
Yeah.
aspect. You're kind of on a trampoline if you can get a skateboard under you,
Mm.
or just building leg strength to get that pop. I've always been able to jump high, um, and I think that translates into my air surfing as well.
How about high
Um,
jump in like track and field? Were you good at high jump?
I Yes, but I wasn't I wasn't good compared. I was good for my size. Like
Okay.
I was a super late bloomer in high school. Like I feel like I didn't go through puberty until I was like a junior or a senior in high school, so
Yeah.
all the guys were always way bigger than me. Like I was
Mm.
always the little guy.
Yeah.
Um, so I could jump for my size, and I was agile for my size. But once I kind of got like older, hit puberty, and went through that, like once I got into my like late teens, is when I that really translated well into my surfing. Um,
Okay.
and then I was kind of keeping up with the best of them then, I guess.
Right on. So in high jump, you would need to propel yourself, but in surfing, I mean, you have the benefit of you're basically on a ramp, correct?
It,
Like the way you're
exactly.
propelling.
Like
Yeah.
I felt like when I was smaller and all the other guys were like big, strong, powerful guys, I could still use the power of the wave to like project me.
Mm.
And that was a big thing with surfing, is it was as much about flow as it was being strong and fit. So just because I wasn't like the biggest, strongest guy in the water didn't mean that I didn't have the same flow or like timing on a wave. And so I felt like I was able to kind of work on getting better at those things. And then my body caught up later.
Oh, I see. So lots
That's
of
like a,
mistakes and a body awareness. Okay, I get it.
yeah, yeah. So and it was funny, like I always was competing in the NSSAs and the WSAs, and I would make finals. I wouldn't really win that often. And then one year I did the NSSA nationals, and like my first national championship trophy, I won their air show.
Nice.
And I felt like that was just like, okay, you can do air shows, Kev. Like you might not, I don't have a huge desire to qualify for the tour. if I was just thrown onto the tour randomly without having to go the qualification process, I think I would be totally fine with being there. But I really like the direction that the air show thing is going right now, and
Yeah.
being involved in that. And like there's stab highs, there's Red Bull Airbornes, and they're associated with the tour events, but I think they're a little more my speed and my
Nice.
style of surfing. And that's what I'm enjoying in surfing. And I've never been a big wave guy. It's I don't mind surfing big waves, but I wouldn't consider myself like a big wave guy who's crazy comfortable in huge barrels. Like,
Yeah.
just I wasn't brought up on that where I live. But that's the cool thing, is there's so many different avenues in surfing right now that you could be a professional in.
Yeah. Professional airman.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
I guess
great,
so.
dude. Yeah.
I still do turns here and there, but you know.
So if you go surfing like regular, going down the line, do you get kind of bored? Do you need that air element to really keep you
No.
stimulated, or?
No, not
No, okay.
necessarily. Like I find myself going out and still doing turns and just trying to have a good flow and style through the wave. And of course, if the air section is there, that's what gets me really excited, which why I find wave pools like wickedly fascinating, because they have engineered air sections, like
Yeah, wow.
the Perfect Swell pool. That thing is designed for air surfing. But when I'm going every day, I go down to Lowers or T Street or Salt Creek or whatever, and I'll hang out with my friends, and they're like, if they're QS focused, I'll run heat with those guys or girls. And I still really enjoy doing turns, and I think that's very important. It's a very important aspect of surfing still. It's not all airs for me. I think that's just what I find a lot of joy doing.
Yeah, and that's your competitive realm. That's where you really own it.
Correct. So
Nice.
and unfortunately, man, we haven't got the chance to compete, like air show wise, with the exception of Stab High that we did in Indonesia. And even so, like, that was a competition, but the cool thing about that is it spanned over 11 days. Nobody lost. There was just a winner, which I thought that was the coolest format, man. Like, it was almost a no pressure format, so everybody could go out and just go absolutely psycho and not have to worry about falling and surf as much as you want all day. So there's those really cool avenues of how to run an air show nowadays too, that it's not a strictly like a heat that you go out and you win or lose. And I guess that part of the air surfing is kind of attractive to me as well.
So it might be a little premature to say this, but with surfing, entering the Olympics, I wonder, this could be a potential event one day on the big stage.
I wonder, man. It's I'd imagine they'll probably keep surfing to its traditional format in the Olympics of competition, but who's to say there's not room for evolution there? I mean, this is going to be our first go at the Olympics, surfing, skating as well.
Yeah.
And I guess it's almost like a test run this year. I mean, not to say that it's a test run for the people who have qualified, because they're the best, but we're going to see how it transpires on the world stage and in front of viewers who have never really seen surfing. So I guess if it doesn't engage as well as they want it to, it's something that a format has to change. Now, if that's an air show, I don't know, but there's room for not improvement, but evolution in that sense, I guess.
I think the beaches are crowded now. That'll be interesting when surfing hits the Olympics, to see what sort of ripple effect that has on the commonplace of it all, or people's interest in it.
Totally. And I guess too, like, there's a lot of wave pools popping up nowadays, and it, like, let's say surfing just absolutely booms as a sport when the Olympics premiere, those wave pools are kind of almost going to come to the rescue of people who don't have access to an ocean, to a lake that's big enough to surf. Um, it's kind of a cool time to be involved in
Yeah,
all this, you know. It's
absolutely.
it's unique. I mean, freshwater surfing is not strictly in a lake or a pool. Like, it's a little hybrid of both. And um, I'm really excited to see how that transpires in the future with people who are living in landlocked states or provinces or
Yeah.
whatever, having the access to a wave pool. And like, it's gonna be cool. The next
So
20 years.
have you done the river waves before?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I know I've heard about a couple in Montreal,
Mhm.
or I'm not sure how many there are.
There's one in Montreal and there's one in Ottawa, but the big place is Alberta. It's something called the Kananaskis River. Pretty sufficient sized wave there.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do they, when they're doing those, like, do they sink in any objects into the river so it kind of like makes the wave stand up? I've seen
Yeah.
some.
So he called that a berm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you some information on that later. That's pretty rad. Yeah, I think that's your next. I'd love to see you get some air on a river wave.
Dude, let's do it.
Yeah, they have.
I'm super into that.
Yeah, yeah, it's really becoming big in Alberta, where you'd fit in really good with that hat as well. And yeah, for sure, man. That's the only Canadian kind of component you haven't done yet. You've done the freshwater, you've done each coast. Now you need to hit up those river waves.
I know, I think it's time. That
Yeah.
that'd be fun. I've surfed like it was the Flow Rider in San Diego when they had it down there, or they still do. And I guess that would be my most similar experience to river surfing.
Yeah.
It's way different, like having water push underneath you and you're stationary versus water standing up as a wave and then you're moving down the line. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a different feel. I feel like you'd have to be, it's almost different than surfing.
So from end to end in those
Yeah.
pools that you've been in, from surfing from end to end, how long would that take? Like how long of a ride could you get?
So the Perfect Swell out in Texas and Waco, I think that's about a 15-second ride, 10 to 15
Okay.
second ride, which, I mean, you're fitting 5 or 6 turns in on that wave.
Mm.
And there's a lot of waves where, and then I just had the treat of surfing Kelly Slater's wave pool about 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
3 weeks ago. And that is almost a minute long ride.
Wow.
And like, my legs were streaming it that day. It was crazy. Like, if you're surfing a wave from point A all the way through to the end, it's a leg burner.
Wow.
So, and they're just different styles of waves too.
Yeah.
The Kelly's pools are right and a left, and they have a few different styles based on the speed that they pull the pulley. And the Perfect Swell technology that's out there in Waco, they are able to make the air section or a barrel section. And so there's so many different technologies out there
Mm.
that are changing surfing. It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. You're right, man. Coming from the Great Lakes, I am stoked. I was speaking with Dom Domick from Surf Canada, and he was telling me there's about 3 wave pools in the works in Canada. So we could be having readier access to waves, which sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, when those lakes freeze over, you got a place to go that might be be able to surf in board shorts, huh?
That's my life right now, man. It's frozen out here.
Is it completely frozen right now?
It's not completely, but it's definitely a big portion of it. We've been talking about the air stuff, man. So, hey, I put out a question on social media, but I wanted to know from people, I wanted them to finish this statement. either one of two statements. Kevin spends so much time in the air that blank. Or you could say Kevin jumps so high that. So that's the idea. So anyway, the public came up with two. So here we go, man. Here's some that people came up with. Kevin spends so much time in the air that his landings are smoother than SpaceX rockets.
Ooh, wow.
How's
That's a
that for a
compliment.
compliment? Yeah.
That is a
Seriously.
compliment.
You're like
Thank you to whoever said that.
Chris Dubé, you're like the Tesla of surfing, I guess. Chris Dubé is the organizer of the Wasashka surf gathering on Lake Superior, which I think we should all go to someday, man.
Dude, let's go. I want to get some of that Superior groundswell.
Yeah, that would be the place to go and really meet the tribe. Deborah McDonald says, Kevin spends so much time in the air that the birds are jealous. Not bad,
like
not
that.
bad. Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, here's a few that I came up with. Kevin spends so much time in the air that American Airlines has to reroute when they fly over San Clementine.
I like that. That's a good one.
Kevin spends so much time in the air that many birds have died due to him interfering with their migratory flight patterns.
Never hit a bird. Have definitely come close to hitting drones.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that happens. The drone zone has been getting like pretty busy out here lately.
Yeah.
It's everybody's got drones. It's cool though. I like it.
That's funny though, how all of a sudden there's these things just hovering over you guys while you're surfing, eh?
That and like the confidence of the drone pilots too. Like they're not afraid of putting a drone within 2 or 3 feet of you while you're surfing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, really.
And I would think that in a big wave, I'm sure it could just grab this thing and you'd never see it again.
I think they're having almost like, I think they're having issues out in Hawaii at Pipe when the waves are firing.
Yeah.
Having issues with how many drones, like there's been a couple collisions of drones at Pipeline.
Okay. Wow.
Just because of how many people are trying to film.
Wow. The times we live in, we need to come up with a drone traffic control. All right, man. And the last one I wrote was, Kevin spends so much time in the air that even Phil Collins couldn't feel him coming in the air.
Oh, wow. I like Phil. Phil's a good dude.
Yeah.
Dude. Realistically, I think I spend so much time in the air that my head hurts because when I come down and fall, I've caused myself a few head injuries too. Just like from pure slapping on the water. It's
Gotcha.
I talked about this with actually another friend of mine I did a podcast with on Firewire. Like it's crazy, just hitting your head on the water will totally rock your world. Like I've had a couple weird head injuries that have a couple days of dizziness after, like I've been strongly considering wearing a helmet lately, especially if there's waves of consequence going around.
Wow. Or just that hat.
Yeah, or just the hat. The cowboy hat
you a radius.
pretty well. Yeah.
So you wouldn't exactly think surfing is the sport of getting concussed, but I guess it could happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and it's usually on the days you don't expect it. I find myself getting hurt more on small days than when the waves are pumping. Just it's like you're messing around and things go wrong quick. Body awareness, going back to that, like kind of almost disregard. You're like, oh, I'll be fine, and then board to the head or head onto rock.
Yeah. Now, when we fall off a board, we're taught, do a starfish or fall back. I mean, what is the strategy when you're up in the air, board is disconnected from you? I mean, where do you go in relation to your board?
I mean, like, not every time, but usually when I'm falling, trying airs, I I'm trying to land the air still until the last
Mm.
second when I know it's just not possible.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for me is just getting like the nose of the board away from my face and my eyes, and just covering my head. So it's like if I'm surfing a wave that's reef or hard packed sand or whatever, it's just like protecting your head with your hands or your shoulder or whatever and tucking in, because neck injuries and spinal cord injuries and head injuries are no fun.
Mm.
So I'm just trying to get away from my board as quick as I can, away from the fins, away from the nose, and
Yeah.
I mean it doesn't always work. Like got scars from it, but it comes with the territory.
So what
And
are some of the
we all
injuries
do.
you've gotten doing that? You broken nose or?
I I've had just a couple weird concussions, couple slaps, and then lately on the trip to Indonesia at Stab High, I broke my hand, which
Oh,
I've broken twice doing a very similar air each time. And both times I broke it, first one I broke my second metacarpal, and the second time I broke my fourth metacarpal. And all I did was do an air, and I tried to land the air or catch my board in midair. It got stuck in weird position. I basically crushed my board, or I'm sorry, I crushed my hand in between my board and the weight of my body. And so they were just little crush injuries. Broken hand twice. I broke my nose once surfing. Not bad. It healed correctly. But realistically, I haven't had too many injuries that were horrible.
right on.
Yeah, I've been fortunate in that
You're
sense.
doing pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the cowboy hat, man, and I gotta say also that cowboy hat, they also look pretty similar to a fireman's hat, which I understand you are not just a surfer, but you also have another game plan. So tell us, about the whole firefighter gig.
Yeah, I by no means am I a firefighter at all. I'm working towards it.
Okay.
I grew up in a family of first responders. Basically, my dad is a 33-year fireman who just retired out of LA County, and my mom is an ICU nurse who actually now works for the fire department as their nurse educator.
Oh, wow.
And dude, I have so much respect for the men and the women in that position, and I've always been drawn to it.
Yeah, you probably
Um,
had to use that service a few times yourself.
yeah, a couple times. I mean, just pulling people out of the water who are in need of it and that stuff. So I right now I'm just going through the process of of taking the steps to become a firefighter. Doing some tests, and I've put in some applications a few places, and I that's something that I enjoy doing. Serving the community and helping people is what I like to do.
Yeah.
And I think the fire department is a great way to do that. So right now it's not a backup plan per se of surfing. It's something that I would like to do in conjunction with my career as a professional surfer.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of parallels between the two, in of just being involved in your community.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like surfing was selfish in a way because I spent so much of my time committing to getting good at the sport.
Mm.
And I feel like I could put some of that time into helping the community as well. So yeah, man, I'm just taking the steps to get there, and I'm hoping that I get picked up by a department sometime in the future. It's a lot of my friends do it, and it's a super cool career path that still allows you to surf. It's active, like the guys and girls are kind of they're working out, they're involved in their community, and yeah, I think that's just where I want to be in the next 5 years is working as a firefighter, and I'm just
Yeah.
trying to take the steps to get there. And I've had a lot of great people around me who have encouraged me to pursue that avenue as well as surfing. And if I can kind of make both of them work at the same time, then that's the dream, man.
Yeah, that's a good dream. That's smart. Yeah, finding something that works with the surfing. So you're not taking the surfing away, you're just
No,
enhancing it with some other life experience. That's great.
absolutely not. So I put myself through EMT school and got that license, and potentially looking at an academy sometime in the future. And I'd like to be a paramedic at some point and have patient experience and get that hands on. My best friend is a paramedic, and it's so cool to kind of see what he does. And that's where I think that's where I want to be. It's a really cool career. I've got like I said, I've got so much respect for the men and women that do that. And it's also, you can incorporate surfing into that lifestyle too. And if I can be a professional surfer and also a firefighter one day, that would be that's the dream, man. It's kind of it's it's been it was kind of a quick change in heart. Like I felt like a lot of things were going really great in my career as a professional surfer, and then COVID kind of hit and made me realize that surfing is not the only thing that I'm interested in. I tried to basically buy my time well while COVID was going on and nothing was happening. I was like, you know what, dude, they're offering online classes for EMT. Like, I'm going to put myself through that, and just started taking the steps. And as I took each step, I realized how interested I was actually in that career path. So it's kind of a fast, slow process. Like,
Yeah.
things happen quickly, but then there's a lot of downtime in between. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to balance the two, and that's where I'm at. And I've been enjoying the process.
Smart pick, man. Yeah, this working for a living really gets in the way of surfing. So if you can figure out how to make the two in harmony, man, you figured out the secret. That's what I'm working towards right now, trying to figure out, crack the code.
Yeah, dude, I know, aren't we all? It's a weird code, and I like, if I can feel like it's not work in something that I enjoy,
Yeah,
gosh, that's the best case scenario.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
and I know there's a younger generation that is coming up that's aspiring to the professional surfing aspect, and I kind of want to be there for that generation too, as so many guys and girls were there for me to help me kind of pursue my dream as a professional surfer, and also encourage that kind of branching out into multiple different aspects of life too. Like,
Yeah.
there's time for a lot of different things, and if I can kind of help guide the younger generation in a good direction, whatever they want to do, then
Yeah.
I'm stoked on that, because I think that's important, and the youth is our future.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Dude, I really appreciate your kind of keeping it humble and staying appreciative. What was I going to say about that? I mean, listening to you talk about surfing and the people that you were around. So obviously you were, a bit of a fanboy in a way, like look up to some of these guys. And so when was that moment that you realized, like, oh my God, I'm doing this? Like, I'm like, Kelly Slater is over there, and that's just normal now for me. Like, has that still even quite clicked in, or?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. It's you're always you I you always have people that you look up to in life,
Mhm.
and there's people in my life that I look up to that have no relation to the surfing world. And then, like you said, like there's people like Kelly Slater and other professional surfers that I look up to, who I grew up with. I guess um, I really knew that I was doing it, being a professional surfer, when I was traveling the world and competing on a world stage. And um, that was kind of like, I realized like that's what we're after. And you're always setting goals as you go through that process. So it's not to say that I was never satisfied, but there's always like the next step that I was chasing. And now that I've had some time to kind of step back from it, because I haven't been competing, I haven't been involved in a competition. I'm not leaving the state of California every other week to travel somewhere, to take a step back and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking back at all these experiences that I've got to have.
Yeah.
I think the last year is when I really noticed that I was kind of living the dream
Yeah.
of pursuing a professional surfing. Um, and I also, that was when I realized also that there was guys and girls who took time out of their professional careers to help me, and realize that I need to also do that same thing for the younger generation. So whatever, encourage anybody who listens to the podcast, this what we're talking about, like if they have any questions, reach out to me. I really try and respond to people if they have questions like about that stuff. And not that I'm any great role model or anything, but just from experience, like if I can help anybody or the younger generation, then I'm stoked to do it. I really am, because there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of people who helped me do that and continue to do that. Like it's a positive feedback loop if you make it.
So when you're out on the surf and you've learned from your elders, are you learning about more than just surfing? Like, have you learned life lessons from these guys?
I think I learned more life lessons than surfing. You
Yeah.
know, like surfing, you go out and you do you, and you might have a coach, or you might teach yourself and work on things yourself. But the experience that I got from traveling and meeting new people, different cultures, and then the business aspect of it too. I mean, I went to college and I graduated college, and I feel like I've learned more from traveling and being around the world and interacting with people than I did from sitting in a classroom. Not, I mean,
yeah.
I did my college was online, but
Yeah.
just taking those little things. So learning about how businesses work, for example, like going into negotiating contracts, or like just seeing how product would move through like inventory of things, and that, and then learning about how different people live in different places. I feel like that taught me and continues to teach me more than college did.
Absolutely, man.
Sorry, Northeastern
Life,
University, but yeah, school of life. It's so those experiences were cool, man. They I guess everywhere you go, you learn something new. And I've learned the most from traveling and interacting with new people and meeting new people. It's been really cool.
Amazing. Dude, it's pretty just, yeah, man, inspirational talking to you, hearing that. I guess because as an outsider, it's like you're talking about living the dream and you're like, man, this guy's a pro surfer. That sounds like that is the dream. But to see you still searching for more and really needing that meaning in your life of impacting people directly, I think that's pretty admirable. That's cool, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and professional surfing, it's not I mean, to some people it is, but it's not always the most financially sound avenue. Like it's there, it's a smaller industry in comparison to a lot. And If you're in it for the money, then I can't say that's, I don't know. I just enjoy the experience that I've had with it, and getting to travel and see all these places. And my sponsors and I've been so fortunate to be involved with people and sponsorships that have allowed me to travel that much
Yeah.
and get those experiences. So, like, yes, I'm a professional surfer, but it's not like I'm balling out in some Hollywood mansion or anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I was
like,
going to say the gap, the wage gap, I'm sure is pretty huge. I mean, think about Major League Baseball or NFL or something, right? Like you're a
yeah,
pro, you're a professional athlete, but surfing is not regarded in the US anyway. It's not part of that same class, right? Like you're not making those NFL numbers that a guy just sitting on the bench is even making, right?
no, not at all.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
It's it's definitely not that way. Like, I there was, I mean, there continues to be years or months that it's like, okay, like I didn't even break even, you
Yeah.
know, but having those goals and setting goals and working towards them, is important. And like I said, if you're in it for the money, maybe another professional sport
Yeah.
is more lucrative. But there are guys that make that get there and make that kind of money. The Johns, the Gabriels, and I'm not one to discourage anybody from pursuing that, because it's like, heck yeah, anybody can do it. You just got to put your mind in time and effort, um and you'll get there. So
Yeah.
just one of those things, man. It's been great to have those experiences.
Yeah, and to look back on your experiences and to know that they were spent in the ocean surfing. I mean, that's incredible. So you're 25, right, Kevin? Around there?
Yes, I'm 25 years old.
Yeah. So you're 25 years old. Let's say you're 25 years old, you're broke, but you're surfing for a living, you're living it up. Guess what, man? When you're 30, when you're 35, when you're my age, I'm 38, you could still be broke. And it's like every day is starting over, like tomorrow I'm going to work and I'm going to make money. So,
Yeah,
when I think about someone in your position, I think, man, who cares? You are surfing, you're in a dream spot right now. The money doesn't always match up, but man, sounds like a
yeah,
pretty awesome life at the moment.
totally, dude. And it's just about setting those goals and trusting the process a little bit. And if you have those goals that you can work towards, like I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and that when you set goals and try and accomplish them, that things will start working,
Yeah.
and it whatever time they start working at is the time. It's like the time will be right when the time's right.
It's funny though how you said you're not rolling up in limousines or whatever, because the optics of seeing pro surfers in magazines and with the sponsors, I mean, that kind of paints the picture of what we think you guys might be up to, right? So to hear, for me, I've talked to yourself and I've talked to several others, and I've kind of seen what it looks like behind the curtain now, like firsthand through these dialogues.
Yep.
Um, so it's interesting, but it still just sounds like, oh man, when I think about my day and all the paperwork I did, if I was if I was surfing instead, oh, that would have been great. But yeah, still working on the dream. 38 years old, still working on the dream to figure out a way to surf
I
more
like
and
that.
work less.
And dude, this, like, I think this podcast is actually a really unique way to just bring in different perspectives. And I I like hearing other people's stories,
Yeah,
and that's a cool way to connect with people, and who knows what's to come of it.
yeah.
I think that's a it's admirable, and it's like who knows, like it could be something, so there's something so unique about connecting with people from all over the
Yeah.
world.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, the podcast is a dream. 6 months in, over 5,000 hits, 24 amazing guests. The roster just keeps growing. Now I'm at a point where I've realized like this is basically, it is a good thing the water's frozen right now, man, because this is all I've been doing is this podcast. So I need to find out a way. So I want to start bringing in some sponsors and start making this a bit profitable for me, with hopes that maybe, like you're saying, this could maybe be the only thing eventually. That would be absolutely awesome. But like you're saying, there are stories to be told and they are fascinating. And, we even had Eugene on here for a minute. We didn't get to hear his story. Everyone's got a story.
Absolutely. And I think it's cool too, like the Great Lakes, the Great Lakes surf community is it for it being so landlocked per se.
Mhm.
The community can be interlinked, and a podcast like this is a great way to kind of introduce people from the community and outside of the community to the community. It's like you guys have such a diverse like diverse geographic location, and
Yeah.
to kind of have like different people tell different stories. Like I said, I was listening to Larry's podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I only listened to 10 minutes just because I didn't realize he was the first guest, and I saw that today and I was like, this is so rad. And so I listened to 10 minutes of him and him talking about like the Stoke of the Lakes community and what it's done for his life and the story he's told. Um, that's something that you can share with other people, and that's so rad. I love that.
There are some colorful characters on the Great Lakes. You're right, Larry's one of them. Are you familiar with Surfer Dan at all?
Surfer Dan, I'm not.
Yeah, you got to check that out, man. Surfer Dan. Even just type in Vice TV, Surfer Dan. He's the sort of the king of the ice beards. You'll appreciate that video a lot. You want to see
Yes.
Stoke, and I'll send you some stuff when I remember at some point. And
Please do.
yeah, dude. So we didn't even really go into your origins of surfing or anything like that. I think it seems to me like you are a friend of Permastoked. I think we'll have you back.
Yeah, please, anytime. I'd be stoked to come
Yeah.
back on and break it down and bring new stories. Like, I mean, yeah, I feel like we could touch on a lot more and probably kill a few more hours if we needed.
For sure, man. So hey, come on back to Canada and let me know when you're coming, dude. We got to go hit some surf together.
Let's do it, dude. I'm
Yeah.
keen for a Great Lakes trip. As soon as those borders open back up, I'm
Yeah.
activating.
Awesome. Let me know, man. And yeah, I want to make it out to the East Coast again. It's been a while since I've been there. And yeah, Scotty told me he'd keep a spot in the basement floor warm for me. So I am game to go hit those swells again.
Scotty's got more room than just the basement.
Okay.
I think you could sleep in a better room than the basement.
Okay, right on. All right. So I'm not stuck to the concrete floor.
Exactly.
Nice. All right, man. Well, hey, before I quite let you go, I do like to ask people, what else are you stoked about, man, when you're not surfing?
Gosh, I'm so stoked on my family, and I am so stoked on my girlfriend and her family. Like, we've been dating for almost 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we met in high school, and I'm just so fortunate to have the people around me that I do. Um, I'm stoked on that, and family and friends are just, I've been so blessed with that aspect of my life, and that's what keeps me going every day,
Wow.
man. I'm
You're
stoked.
saying all the right things, man. Nice.
Thank you.
So, and you've had a lot of time, like you said, COVID, it's kind of slowed the world down. So anything you've been watching, reading, listening to anything good these days?
You know, I kind of ripped into a couple books in like late December, January,
Okay.
and I started them and didn't finish. I've
Okay.
been trying to juggle my time with studying
Mm,
some fire stuff and then also reading, and then definitely get sucked into the social media vortex every once in a while.
yeah.
Just being completely honest. But I've been reading a cool book by a guy named Jordan Peterson. It's called 12 Rules to Life.
Okay.
And it's kind of a cool book. He's a psychologist, and he's got a really interesting way of writing. And then I've also been reading a book called The Ecology of Commerce, and that's just breaking down like the current. Well, it's not even current. I guess the book was written quite a while ago, but it talks about how being eco-friendly and having the mindset of not capitalism, I suppose, don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like you can be eco-friendly and still make money.
Mm,
And I've been reading up on that a little bit. I just with things flying around in the media, how it is, I like to read different perspectives and then make my own judgments as to
yeah.
things. You know, it's
Yeah. See where
so
you
that
fall
was
on
kind
the
of a cool
issue.
book because it feels like how media is. It's like it's one way or the other with that's a whole nother conversation. You know, it's like one
Yeah.
way or the other with you're eco-friendly or you're capitalistic. Well, it's like, oh, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So that's a book that I've been reading. 12 Roots to Life by Jordan Peterson's cool. And he breaks things down like from a social
Did you
psychology.
say 12 rules of life?
Yeah, 12 rules
Rules.
of life.
Okay.
12 rules to life, written by a guy named Jordan Peterson. He's a real smart dude, and he kind of like I like the analogies he makes. So been reading up on that.
Nice. Nice.
And yeah,
The environmental topic is really interesting to me too. I spoke with a representative from Surfrider a couple days ago, so that episode will be coming up, and she really goes into what you're talking about. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, that's big in our world right now, I suppose.
Yeah. And hey, I want to ask you, are you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Are you a big Nirvana fan?
Not really, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I like Nirvana. I'm not a big Nirvana fan.
Do you know why I asked you that?
Why is that?
Because your social media picture, man. It's like it looks like
it is
cover of Nevermind. Yeah.
That's I did a trip with.
Except you're wearing clothes, which is good.
I know. It's probably that way I don't violate the community guidelines and get booted from social media. No, I did a trip with Pete DeVries, Noah Cohen, and Marcus Palladino and Nate Laverty down to Mexico, and we were like messing around, shooting photos in the pool, and that's where that one came from. Yeah,
I got to figure out a role for myself to get on these tours. You know,
dude, come along. Just sign up. We all chip in to our portion, and then go on a surf trip. And then we can do podcasts down in Mexico.
Yeah, right on. I'm down for that sometime, man. Yeah, once things get like you're saying, they open up a little bit. I'll have to make that happen.
Let's do it.
So, dude, thanks for coming on the show. Where can people connect with you, man, or talk to you online?
Derik, thanks for having me, dude. You guys can always reach out to me on social media. It's just Instagram. I have Facebook, but Instagram's best. My username is at Kevin_Schulz. Schulz is how my last name is spelled. So any questions, hit me up. Happy to help. And thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Awesome. It's been great, dude. Canada loves you. Permastoked loves you. I love you, man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. Sorry for getting all the Canadian questions wrong. I'll brush up on my Canadianism.
No, that was awesome, man. It's totally awesome. Thank you.